crunched his knees up and piston-kicked the can with both boots at once. 9 tons of ice rose into the vacuum. Siegn opened the throttle on his rockets and bounded to the next can. He repeated the maneuver 7 more times. On the way to number 9, he glanced aft. He couldn't see Master Sergeant Walliser, who must have decided to take the short route skimming the hull rather than arcing above it. Siegn released cylinder number 9 and kicked it into the vacuum. He threw his harpoon launcher after it. He floated just above the hull, catching his breath after his frenzied efforts. 20 seconds passed by his HUD before Wallister's bike breasted the horizon and skidded to a halt, farting gas from its forenozzle. Walliser was awfully proud of that bike, but with only 15 pounds of thrust, it couldn't go very fast. "I'm talking to you, insect. What are you doing out here?" Siegn repressed his urge to glance up. Walliser hadn't seen the cans, or he'd have said something about them. There was a non-zero chance that the cans would reappear and sleet through Saturn Station sometime next week, but by then Siegn would be gone. No one would connect the cylinders with him. Inspecting the hull, he gestured toward the blunt peak of the bows. He'd turned in the vacuum to face Walliser, so it seemed as if they were floating at an impossible angle on a 60-degree slope, rising to a smooth, icy summit. "The hull is fine," Master Sergeant Theopold Walliser said. He'd sewn his stars and chevrons on the outside of his coverall so everyone would know he was an NCO, not just some swabby. "The deck tech said you were installing some new sensor packages. That's what you told them." Siegn wished he hadn't said anything. "We have no such sensor packages," Walliser snapped. "We should. The Lillian Guest is the first supergiant berg ship. It cost millions to build and hull her. She'll bring in hundreds of millions for the fleet when she reaches Mars. What if a meteor impacts her along the way? What if—" "Sir, meteors will impact her. Debris strikes on the front of a berg ship are a given, especially around Jupiter's Trojan points. Might make a big crater, maybe some impressive cracks. That would not do a thing to endanger the ship. The hull is kilometers thick. It is not possible to avoid debris anyway, so we just have to hope there's nothing too big out there. Forward sensors would be completely pointless." Siegn looked up past the bows. Saturn's A-ring split the sky. Seen edge-on, it was no wider than a not-very-strong laser beam. Either side of the A-ring, the brightest stars shone steadily in the black. He couldn't see any of his cans anymore. They'd floated out of sight, taking with them his profit margin for this voyage. Not only that, but Finara was going to be pissed. Walliser leaned off his bike and grabbed at the tear in Siegen's coverall, ripping it wider so the heating elements showed through the radiation shielding layer. "How did this happen?" "Accident," Siegn said sullenly. Walliser knotted his glove in the coverall, hauling Siegn closer. He cocked his other fist and punched Siegn in the ribs. Walliser had spent as much on his suit as he did on his bike, and the suit, unlike the bike, was worth the money. It had actuators in the joints that augmented the Master Sergeant's strength. His fist hit Siegn like an ice shard. Pain speared through Siegen's rib cage. He doubled up, yelping. Walliser thrust him away. The movement pushed the bike away in the other direction. Walliser flared the thrusters and circled back. "You'd better visit old Todish. I'd hate for my best intelligence specialist to gimp out on me right before a cruise." It hurt to breathe. Tears squeezed out of Siegen's eyes, blurring the stars. "Well, hop on," Walliser said. Siegn gasped. "Walk." Walliser pointed aft. A formation of spray ships cleaved the black. Each of the chubby tankers carried a nozzle on its prow like the proboscis of an insect. They would start at the bows and travel aft, spraying the hull of the Lillian Guest with aluminum. The thin coat of metal would make the hull reflective and prevent ice loss, once the berg ship got close enough to the sun for solar radiation to melt it. "You'd better hop on unless you want to get